Hi, Loz.
Hi.
Every single episode literally starts the same. Are you okay?
I'm good, how are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Okay, so Lauren and I are friends. We met when I moved to Manchester like 2 years ago.
I was thinking about this, I think it might be a bit longer. I think it might be about 3 years.
No, it's not, because
Is it
I've
not?
only been here 2 years in February, so
Yeah.
what day is it? What month is it? May next week?
Oh,
Yeah.
right. I thought we met in like COVID.
No, but yeah, it feels like a long time, doesn't it?
Yeah, it actually does, yeah.
So yeah, I wanted to ask Lauren on because when we first met, I mean, I was in a mental hellhole. I was in an awful state. And we used to go on these big walks and we used to talk about dreams and how we're feeling and Lauren, I don't feel like you were in a bad place, but I feel like you were figuring it out.
Yeah.
And where Lauren is now to where she was then blows my mind. So that's why I wanted to ask you to come on, because I just think it's really interesting how you go about things. So before we get into that, just give a bit of an intro into who you are, what you do.
I am a freelance fashion designer and director of Friday's Child Studio, which is the company that I operate under. And I work with multiple brands. I mainly do like active streetwear and athleisure. I never say that word properly. But yeah, I work with multiple brands like worldwide, and yeah, that's pretty much me in a nutshell. I've always been into like really like active and like anything like healthy and stuff like that as well. But yeah, that's pretty much me.
Yeah, but Lauren's she's a fucking sick fashion designer.
Yeah, thanks.
You're very good. But also you have a really interesting perspective. I would say that you're not like an average obsessed with social media, like, are you classed as millennial? You will be, won't you?
Yeah.
Like, I would say you just do things on your own terms. So let's talk about mindset stuff, because you're quite into mindset, but you, again, do it in your own way. Talk about your journey with it from like when you first started becoming interested in it to maybe where you are now.
So I remember being in Australia when I was like, I think I'll be 24, and I was so impressed. Like, I was doing what I was wanting to do, like travelling and
so you went there after uni?
I went there, so I was 23, so I finished uni when I was 21, and then a couple of years at home. Again, wasn't really having the best mental time, and going to Australia was something that I'd always wanted to do, and so I did it. And don't get me wrong, I had a good time while I was in Australia, but mentally I was like really up and down, and I feel like I was like that for quite a long time. A big part of that was probably because I was on the contraceptive pill, which is a totally different podcast, but I think that really didn't help at all. But yeah, I remember one of my best mates from home sent me, "Oh, you should read this book, The Secret." I was like, well, I'm never going to read it, but I'll listen to the audiobook of it.
I feel like so many people's journey starts with The Secret.
Yeah, it starts with The Secret, and like, I think it's a really good place to start, but like, it is a bit like woo-woo when compared to all of the other like good resources there is for like self-development and stuff like that.
Yeah. Because
I am probably the same as a lot of people. I hate all that like cringy side of it. I like to know the science behind stuff. Like, that's just the way my brain works. And there is quite a lot of fluff in The Secret, but it did help me at the time. And I used to listen to it like falling asleep. So they like really went into my brain. And I started to implicate some of the like things that they talk about in the book. So, for example, like getting clear on what you want, and they kind of make it out to be like you think about it and you get it kind of thing, but it's really not. It's really not how things work. It's not reality. But I started to implicate a few of the things from it and realised that things in my life were changing and things started to get better.
Like what?
Just like my view on things. I feel like things would just work out easier for me than they had done before. Like, things would just kind of like fall at my lap. Like, big things that I'd like wanted, and I'd be like, what is going on? Like, I've always wanted this like one. I can't think of any specific examples, but I just remember thinking of it at the time. And then I kind of like dipped in and out of that, and I was still just not really having a very good time mentally. I think I used to put a lot of pressure on myself because I really struggled to get into design, and it was something that I knew that I always wanted to do. Like literally since being a child, I was like, I'm going to be a fashion designer, and I never give up on that hope. But being, literally, like I used to draw sort of like sketchbooks full of like drawings of dresses and stuff like that. It was just like always something that I wanted to do. And then so I left Australia when I was 20, just before I turned 25.
Mm-hmm.
So I left 2 years, so I went when I was 23. And I came back to England, and I was probably the most depressed that I've ever been. I used to have like really bad depressive stints, and kind of just like forgot that the whole manifesting thing was a thing, and that all of the like helpful things that I would do for myself, like I don't know, gratitude is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I just like forgot that was a thing and just wouldn't do it. And then I moved to Manchester, and I stayed on my best mate's floor, Charlie, for 3 months on an airbed, and I was like suffering really bad with like an eating disorder. It was probably the peak. That was quite a big thing in my life for probably the best part of like 8 years, and I struggled really badly with it when I moved here.
Yeah.
And then I kind of remembered that I'd had this book, The Secret, and I think I listened to it again, and then I started to find loads of other books like it that were way better and a lot more realistic. And then off the back of that, I started listening to a guy called Bob Proctor. Do you know who that is?
No, I don't.
So he's in The Secret, but he's actually like.
Oh yeah, because he tells stories of people, don't
he? So he's in that, so that's how I knew of him. But when I started to watch his like YouTube videos and stuff, he's like an old Canadian guy.
Yeah.
He mentioned a lot about like the subconscious and conscious mind, and like how all of your experiences through life and things that you'd have heard, not like things that aren't your story, but you end up taking on as your own. Like comments people have said to you, just things that you've seen, all contribute to what you believe in your daily habits that form over the years. Things that you don't even realise is why you do things. And it really interested me. So then I kind of started to understand my own mind more. And then like off the back of that, I listened to... I'd never read. I can't read.
Me neither.
I always listen to audiobooks. So then I listened to Louise Hay.
I've heard of it.
So Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway is another one I listen to. But the Power Is Within You.
Okay.
I've like listened to that. That was amazing. That like really helped me through like some hard times. Because I feel like I was very up and down for a good, honestly, probably until I was about 27. So I'm now 29, nearly 30. Actually, probably till I was 28. Yeah, it was till I was like 28. I was just really up and down all the time. And then, but like I said, all these like books and things that I listened to along the way, I really like took on board. I didn't just kind of like listen to them and then not take action with them. Yeah. So I
think that's the main thing, isn't it? Because I feel like, and we can get onto it. Like, obviously, it's trending at the minute, but it's pointless reading all the books or like doing. Looking at the things or researching the things, you're not actually going to do anything about it.
Yeah. Well, honestly, like, I could sit and tell you of all of the books and stuff that I listen to, but if you want to know the main points that I've taken from all of these things is like, the only thing, or the only person that can change something is you.
Yeah.
And if you don't put anything into action of what you want to do, then your life's never going to change. Yeah. And this might sound a bit morbid, right? But this is literally how I think. The only thing that's certain in life is that you're going to die. And that sounds morbid, but it's true. And I think, why wouldn't you want your life to be good? And why wouldn't you want, if you're feeling shit, why wouldn't you want to start doing things that make you feel better? It's hard. Like, oh my God, some days I used to wake up and I just didn't want to get out of bed. But one thing I can say is, I've been in some shit places, and I've always just dragged my ass out of bed and just made sure that I got shit done.
Yeah.
But yeah, the only person that can change anything in your life is you.
Yeah.
Like, you're the only one. You're like the driver of your own car. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I do feel like we're digressing a bit, and we'll go back to continuing the journey. No, it's fine. We'll go back to continuing the journey in a bit. But I was stuck in this place of a bit like you said, and I don't know if it's age and getting a little bit older, and you're just a bit like, oh fuck it, I'm just gonna go for it and see what's the worst that can happen, and you stop. Again, I don't know about you, but I have got to a point, age-wise, where I just don't overthink stuff half as much. And I think therapy's helped that. And we can talk about that again in a bit, because we've got the same therapist. But I do, you see a lot of people online or on social or wherever your friends talking about it, talking about stuff. What you don't see is people actually doing shit. And what I've realised is, the second you stop overthinking it or you stop wondering what everyone else is doing, then you just crack on with your own shit. That's when stuff starts to happen.
Well, yeah, definitely. And as well, like, if you're constantly comparing yourself to others, I feel like it makes your journey, like, less authentic to you. And people can tell that, especially with, like, I'm just going to link this with, like, work, just because it's, like, something that I can relate to. But, you know, if, like, so I've, like, managed to grow a little bit of a following on LinkedIn. And
influencer.
I don't know how, but I have. And I look at the people's stuff all the time, and I could either like take inspiration from it or really get in a hole because I don't think my content's as good as theirs. Or if I have a day where I haven't had as much reach or likes on one post as somebody else has got, it could really send me into a hole. But like, if I then just start to copy what they are doing, it's not like coming from me then. Do you know what I mean? And that's what people like buy into. Do you know what I mean? And you can tell when people aren't being authentic.
Yeah.
So just use social media as an example there. It also, that applies to like everything. Yeah. Like anything in life.
I think the more you compare yourself and the more you try and follow someone else's path, one, it's not going to work for you because it's not. I fully believe in like the whole universe. You are where you're meant to be and all of that kind of stuff. So if you're trying to be like someone else, it's almost like you're resisting what you're actually meant to be doing.
Yeah.
And then also, it causes you to be insecure because you're trying to be someone else, but you can't ever get there because you can't be somebody else. Yeah. So you just you're constantly telling yourself that you can't, I'm not, and that just causes insecurity.
Yeah, you can literally drive yourself crazy doing it. I used to do it a lot when I was younger.
Yeah, but let's go back to what we were talking about. So you started to listen to books.
Yeah. So start to read lots of books.
Yeah.
Or listen to lots of books.
Yeah.
And the main book, so this is within the last like year and a half.
Yeah.
My life has really like gone in the right direction. But I started listening to, going back to Bob Proctor, sorry. He always used to mention in all of the videos I listened to this book called Think and Grow Rich, which I'd heard of for like I said, I've been listening to those videos for years, and he always mentioned it. But I never listened to it. And then one day, right, I was like, just randomly had this thought, Think and Grow Rich, and I was like, oh my god, yeah, I'm going to listen to that book. And then the weirdest thing was, I went on to Audible and it was free. It was a free book. Like normally, obviously, you have to pay for them. So, like, I pay for the monthly subscription where you get like a credit and get a book, but it was just free. And I thought that's weird. Like, changed my fucking life. I've even got words out of it tired on my body. I'm not even joking. It just really. It talks about. It's like basically. There's no mention of manifestation in it, right?
No, it's not.
But essentially, it is how to manifest, and it is so like it's like I understand it because it's like the stages and process of it.
There's a red thread here because I've listened to it. I haven't listened to it all. I'm almost at the end, but for me, it's a perspective. It puts things into perspective, and also why Courtney's going to come on the podcast and we are going to record an episode. Courtney's our therapist who I've talked loads about on here. She's fucking amazing. Yeah. But for me, she's a massive perspective shifter.
Yeah. She really helped me. That would have been my next thing.
Yeah. So yeah, for me, the book puts a lot.
Have you finished it?
Not yet. I'm on one of the last chapters.
Do you think it's good?
Yeah. I do.
Do you get why I'm always like, fucking read, Think and Grow Rich?
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's really good, and the more, because I went through a phase of once I'd finish it, I'd start it again. I did the same with that, The Power is Within You, by the way, which again, Courtney actually, this was before I went to therapy with her, I heard her talking about it and I was like, I'll give it a listen. But it's just a game changer, like it just makes sense to me when I was listening to it. But I started listening to that just before I went to Courtney for therapy. And so the reason I went to her is because, like I said, for years, backwards and forwards with this, like, these stints of depression. And, like, when I got down, I was, like, really down. Like I said, I'd still get up every day and do it, but I just feel so sad. And I feel like I was stuck in this, like, just dark hole.
So what was it? Because I feel like this is a part where people will relate to.
Yeah.
So would you be okay or have highs and then you'd go back into this dip?
Yeah. So I think like when I used to have it years ago, I used to think that it was because I wasn't where I wanted to be with work and stuff.
Yeah.
So work really took off for me within the past like 3 years, particularly again the last year and a half. But I used to think it was because of that, and then obviously like struggle with eating disorders, and I kind of always base it around them. But as well, so over the years I've loved a party, loved a party, and I think before I went to Courtney, I feel like I went through a bit of a identity crisis, and it was 4 years from probably being like 16 to 27. I was like, don't know, I probably thought myself some wild party girl, just out all the time. So there was a kitchen I'd be in at 6 o'clock in the morning, I'd be in it, like I just loved it. And then I gradually started to just not enjoy it as much, and I think it was the fact that I couldn't come to terms with the fact that that just wasn't who I was anymore, which caused real discomfort in me. And I think that kind of added to a number of different things. Like I also have polycystic ovaries, so my periods are all over the place, but because I was struggling with my eating disorder, I'd go through these like mad diet instants and really be training in the gym, which would lead to me having no periods, which then would end up in a really bad stint of depression. And like I said, that was kind of like a cycle. But going back to like when I went to meet Courtney, like that stint that I was in at that time, I think I had a lot of change going on in my life as well. Like I was going through this identity crisis of not really knowing who I was anymore, and I wouldn't enjoy. Then I'd got to the point where like I wouldn't want to go out with my mates because I didn't want to drink. And then I thought that they'd judge me for not drinking and stuff, and I was just really getting in my head with stuff. But I met my partner like 8 months before I moved in with him, so I moved in with him in the April, and I had a massive life change. Like I've never lived with a guy before. Before I met him, I'd been single for like 6 years. So it was just like this big shift in my life. And I feel like everything was just a bit overwhelming, but I didn't know what was wrong. But I just literally felt like shit every day. I just wanted to wake up and cry. And it wasn't because
while you was with Mark?
This while I was with Mark, yeah. And like it wasn't because I wasn't like I didn't understand why I felt so shit, because I'd like found a partner who was the best person ever. I'd like moved into his gorgeous flat with him. I had loads of good mates. Work was going good, and I just was like I didn't understand it. And then I went to therapy. So I briefly knew Courtney before I went to her as a therapist. So at first I didn't know whether I'd be able to see her because I knew her.
I honestly talk about Courtney as she's a saviour, but when she comes on, she's going to be like, you two are fucking.
I'd been to therapy with a different therapist years before as well for my eating disorder. And she was good to an extent, but I never really felt like I could open up with her, and I felt like she didn't really relate to me because she was a bit older. And whereas Courtney is very relatable, we're like similar age, and we're like probably like similar interests and stuff like that. Like I said, I briefly knew her, and I just kind of had a feeling that she would get me. And she did. And I feel like the combination of that book and Courtney, like you said, she's so good at just being like changing your like perception on things. Just like it's so easy to just be like. It's like looking straight ahead and just constantly worrying about one thing or just like anything, when literally you could turn your head and have a totally different view of things. And that's kind of like, that's not word for word what she said, but that's kind of what I took from the sessions. And as well, my brain's so like, I need process and structure, and I need to understand everything, otherwise I don't get things. And she would explain the like science behind why my thoughts would lead me to the following thought and blah blah blah. And the combination of all that just like really helped me. And then I put the action steps in place from that book, and I've literally been sound since. That is it's the combination of them two things.
Do you think? I'm not saying that like mindset and stuff is easy, because it's not. You've kind of got to, I want to say, retrain your brain. But I feel like I've followed you a little bit in the whole therapy thing, and I've obviously seen you change a lot. But also I feel like I've relieved a lot of pressure from myself, and maybe it is that like when I don't know about you, but I feel like I was trying to get everything right, and I was trying to go in the right direction, and I was trying, and nothing was working.
It's like not letting anything flow, isn't it?
It was like I was like pushing a fucking boulder and it wouldn't move. And then I just let go. And that's through Courtney, like that's through going to therapy. But then I just let go of everything, and now a bit similar. Like my life's changed quite a lot in the past 2 years.
Yeah.
And it's all because I've just let things happen. Like, I
Yeah.
just don't stress about things anymore. I don't overthink. I don't hone in on one thing and like.
Well, yeah, because that's how you send yourself mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, you were great when I first met you. I was like, how has her brain even got to that? I don't know what's going on in there.
It was mad, yeah.
Yeah, but you've gone through a big change, hadn't you?
Yeah,
like moving from like London to Manchester, and I think anything that's a big shift or change in your life does have an impact on you.
Yeah.
And to be fair, having said that, which I haven't really thought about this before, but I feel like I've always had loads of change in my life.
Yeah, you have, yeah.
Like, because even like going to Australia, then coming back from Australia, then moving to Manchester, and then doing this, and things do have a impact on you.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that really ruled my life for a long time was like an eating disorder.
Yeah.
And so it fed into like all other areas of my life,
Yeah.
which was a big thing that I spoke to like Courtney about.
We didn't actually plan to talk about eating disorder, but I guess you've mentioned it a few times, and I think a lot of people will relate to it. So, do you wanna talk about it?
Yeah. I can talk about it. It's still like, don't get me wrong, I still struggle with it at times. Like because I've just been travelling for 4 months and got back about a month ago.
Yeah.
And I think my partner saw, because I've got quite a good grip on it now. But I think my partner saw it.
What was it? Overeating, under-eating?
So it was bulimia. And like obsessing on what I was eating, obsessing with the gym, and I don't know whether like I don't know that I kind of use it as a bit of a vice a lot of the time, because when I've been so unhappy, it's just kind of the one thing I always like turned to, potentially for like maybe a bit of control. And I don't really, I couldn't tell you, I don't really know, but I started struggling with that when I was like 16. I remember I had a holiday booked with my first ever boyfriend. And I just like couldn't stop thinking about what was going to look like in this bikini. And I used to have like rip outs from magazines of like, do you remember when you get by magazines and they'd have like diets and the celebrities were doing, like my full wall was covered with like celebrity diets, what I wanted to look like. And like
that whole time was so damaging.
Yeah, like so bad. And yeah, I remember getting up every morning and I'd be going for runs and I'd be like, didn't have a clue about nutrition either then, or like calories and stuff, but I'd be like trying to count my calories and that. And then obviously I do fashion, so at college and stuff you're constantly looking at skinny girls in clothes. Yes, I've never really thought about that, but I suppose it will have some kind of mental impact on you, that just looking at mint girls all there. And then I went to uni and I was kind of like okay with it. I didn't struggle with bulimia until I was like 19, and then when I was at uni I don't know, I was like partying all the time. In first year, I put loads of weight on, and then the second year I went the other way and went like really skinny. And it was just something I always mentally battled with for like years. And then, so I'm thinking about my life in stages here. So I'm thinking about when I was at college, then when I went to uni, and then when I left uni, and I kind of swapped throwing up all the time for being obsessed with going to the gym. Like I would go to the gym every day and I was tracking everything I was eating, and I'd like go out for lunch with the girls, but I'd just get coffee because I was so scared of like calories and everything. And then I'd like go through phases where I'd have a grip on it, and then I'd just completely lose my head with it. And then when I went to Australia, I put loads of weight on because I was travelling, just like drinking all the time and having a good time, but it had a really bad impact on me, and I just literally couldn't cope with life, the fact that I put weight on, really struggled with it. And then it got really bad when I came back from Manchester, back from Australia, moved to Manchester, and I was just totally lost my head with it. Anything I ate, I'd throw up. I was like obsessed with going to the gym, and then I'd never told anyone about this, so nobody knew that it was, I think people could see that I was like a bit obsessive with food and stuff, but I'd never told anyone that I'd like thrown up and stuff. And then it got so bad just before lockdown, and I remember Georgina and Kyle were in the front room in our first flat, and I walked in the front room and I just like burst out crying, like what's the matter? And I was like, I'm just really struggling, and I told them, and I think everyone was a bit shocked because they were like, I can't believe I've not like noticed it, and now it kind of makes sense. And then I can't remember what I did from there, because I knew that I had to do something about it because I couldn't really handle it on my own. And then I think that's when I started going to therapy. And and I ran Beats Eating Disorder, which is like a sponsored charity that you can just call and just talk to them. And they kind of give me a bit of advice. And then, honestly, COVID really, really helped me just get my head together. Obviously, it was shit, but I kind of enjoyed it, to be honest. I really enjoyed just having that time to kind of like sort life out and get my head around everything again. And since then, since I had that time to kind of like regroup with it, it definitely creeps up at times, but I've been okay. And I was so in control of what I was eating. I'm not exaggerating when I would say I'd cook one day a week and I'd have 15 meals prepped for the week. Wouldn't I? I'd have 15 meals prepped for the week. I'd have all my snacks like just like lined out. I'd know what days I was going to the gym, and that was my
help you, or did that make things worse?
No, having that helps me. Where I'm not as bad as it now, but I think being with Mark has helped that.
Yeah.
And then obviously when I moved in with Mark, even when I first got with Mark, because you're going out for food all the time, so it kind of interrupted my very rigid routine. So I kind of struggled with that a bit, but I got my head on it. And then when I moved in with him, I think because we were like cooking together all the time, and then we'd have the same size portions and stuff like that, that took me a minute to deal with. And I'm fine. I am generally like day to day like okay with it, but I do definitely have my moments with it. But I can just like give myself a talk, and then I'm like, oh, I seem to be okay with it. But yeah, Mark saw it more when we were travelling, because obviously you have to eat out every day.
Yeah.
And I get really stressed when there's like loads of stuff on the menu, and she's like, what is the matter?
Yeah.
And I've like just like triggers something in me. And it's like I need to, like, it's like a physical response in my body. It's like a real mood shift. I go like really in on myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, that kind of dominated my life for like a really long time. I think that fed into me like my sense of depression and stuff like that.
Yeah. I think it's interesting to hear your battle with it, because also it doesn't seem like there was a big moment where it stopped. Mm-hmm. It seems like you've dealt with it as it's come, and then come out of the other side, which actually it's probably quite refreshing for anyone listening to this that does struggle with food or body image or eating disorders, because I think like I was the other way, and I was binge eating, and I used to think, and you might think this as well, I used to think, oh my god, there must be one day something's going to happen that just snaps me out of this, and it's never going to be the same.
Yeah.
It doesn't quite work like that, does it? Like,
no, it's like the only way you can like change your brain is through like repetition, which is why I sing my songs.
We'll come on to Lauren's songs.
Yeah, I was going to say that's nothing, but it is so true, and the only way you can change like a thought process or like interrupt it is through repetition.
Yeah.
So it's never just going to switch yourself off like that. Do you know what I mean? And things you can like learn and manage and handle things, but a lot of the time when you've got something that's a really deep rooted thing or issue or whatever you want to call it in your life, it's always going to be there on some level. It's just how you like learn to handle it and react to it at the time.
I don't want to go down the route of like talking negatively about social media or the media and stuff, but one thing I did notice at the beginning of that was a lot of it was coming from external sources. Like you said, you were looking at really slim models and fashion magazines all the time, and
I can honestly say that I don't really know to what extent that impacted me, because I never thought about it before. It probably has on some level, but it was always coming from me. Like I never give a fuck what anybody thought I looked like. Yeah. Like in fact, it used to sometimes really affect me if someone made a comment about my body that was good.
Okay.
Like sounds daft, doesn't it? But it made me feel stupid that I felt shit about myself, and I'd literally just want to go run away and cry. So it's always came from me.
From you.
It was always like I was my own worst critic. I wouldn't, because I've never, one thing that I can honestly say about myself is I'm really not a jealous person. I've never never really look at people and think, oh, I wish I had that. Do you know what I mean? Like I've never really been like that. It's always been from my own self-critic.
Why do you think that is?
I don't really know. I think like, I'm not sure. I think honestly, I don't really know the answer to it, but it's never really been like an an external factor. It always came from me.
Yeah.
I'd like really beat myself up about stuff, or like really home in on one area of myself, or like
it's hard, isn't it? It is hard. I think especially in your 20s, like a big part of the podcast is about like struggling in your 20s, and then it does just get easier as you get older, I think.
100%. And to be honest, I think like, you know when they say that you have to be like happy with yourself before you get in a relationship, which is 150% true, by the way. Like when I met Mark, I got myself to like a really good place.
Yeah.
But being with Mark has definitely helped me to like kind of find my own happiness. Yeah. But I don't know whether that's because when you surround yourself with the right people, that happens. Massively, you know what I mean? Yeah. So like, it's not like if me and Mark split up, I wouldn't then be happy. But I think him being in my life and always supporting me probably like has helped with my eating disorder and stuff like that as well. Do you know what I mean? It's like a really good support network for me. Yeah. So, like I said, I went in that relationship happy, but being with Mark definitely like makes me happier and more like comfortable. I just feel, because a big thing for me is just feeling like secure. Yeah. Always had that. It's like it's the main thing I need from anything. From like, I've always wanted to build my own business so that I have that own control of my security. Like I always like to feel secure with my friends, and it's like a really big thing for me. So obviously with your partner's like your closest relationships, isn't it? If not the closest relationship. Yeah. So feeling completely secure in that is really important to me, because I have that. I think it makes everything just feel better. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Let's talk about like, you talked about friends and like people you surround yourself with, and obviously Mark. But one thing on my perspective of you, I know you quite well now, but it's always, you're very good at staying in your own lane, and you're very good at, you'll ask people their opinions, but you form your own opinions, and you're someone who, like you said there, you don't get jealous, and I don't think you compare yourself to people that much, and I find that quite refreshing, and actually it's quite a unique trait to have now that everyone's on social and stuff all the time. Yeah. But what have you all, like, would you say that's a true reflection, firstly, because I would say so, yeah. But where, like, is that intentional? Because I guess a lot of people fall into that trap of just scrolling can even like affect your mindset and stuff like that. Yeah, like, don't get me wrong, I have abstinence of scrolling and stuff, but I like recognise when I'm doing it and kind of try and, like, so for example, actually, I've started sleeping with my phone in the other room, in our spare bedroom, and I don't look at it or try not to look at it past a certain time. Obviously, sometimes I just end up doing that, don't I? And I won't look at it first thing in the morning, because if I just happen to pick my phone up and end up, I don't know, looking on Instagram or like LinkedIn or whatever, I feel like I'm stuck looking at my phone for a minute, and then I get a really busy mind more than anything. More than like comparing myself, it's like my brain's thinking about a million things that I need to do throughout the day, or that I should be doing, or da. So I think I try and have that detachment from it. But also, like, social media, I've never, it's stressing, kind of on some level stresses me out that I've, like, got LinkedIn going. I'm very grateful for it, and I'm not, like, buzzing with it. But social media really isn't my thing, and it really stresses me out. But in the same breath, I'm not asked about, like, speaking to the camera as part of my posts and stuff. But again, it's because I feel comfortable in what I'm talking about. I'm talking about things that, like, I care about, and, like, so a lot of the things I speak about on my Instagram and on like LinkedIn is to do with freelancing. Yeah. And I'm on a bit of a venture at the minute to help freelancers alongside my design work. And because it's something that I care about and I want to do, I feel really comfortable speaking about it, and it doesn't matter to me that I've got my face and my voice on the camera. Also, I feel like you've grown in confidence massively, like incredibly so. Yeah. I think I've always been like a confident, outgoing person, but there was just always something like that. I mean, like proper inner confidence. I am Lauren Robson. Don't fuck with me. No, you don't like don't fuck with me, but you're very, you know who you are, and you know what your strengths are, and you know what you're going to stand for, and you know the types of people you want to be around, and you've almost like building blocks, and they've just been going and going, and then you've got yourself into a really good place. Yeah, mentally. I think I've always, I don't know why, but I think I have always been very like, I've never been shy. Let's put it that way. But I don't know why though. I'm not actually sure as to why I've never been like a quiet child. Probably is. You know. I remember Charlie Lambert saying the first day that she met me, which was when I was 18, first day of uni, and she said that she was like, I'll be mates with her because she knows who the fuck she is, and I thought, not that you just thought that from just like seeing me, but it's probably because I was just like some loud Geordie cow just chatting shit in the background. Do you know what I mean? Like, you couldn't really miss me because like I'm quite tall and I'm loud. Yeah, I don't know, maybe that's why.
What would you say to someone who I do ask you this question at the end, but I'm going to ask you next. That's right. But what would you say to someone who doesn't know who they are and they're desperate to be like, I just want to be me?
I think you definitely start with your surroundings and who you surround yourself with, because I think if you're hanging around with the wrong people, you're never going to feel like you can be yourself. Whereas if you have that network, and say you're someone right now who doesn't have that network, go and find it, because there is people out there who are your people. It's just a case of finding them and have in your head that you're going to find them and be determined to find them, and you will. I'm not saying like go like psycho and just going up to people, be my mate. But like when you know what you want, things come to you. That is a fact.
Yeah.
So if you're in that situation, just have in your head that that's what you know what you want, and you just kind of naturally, people will just naturally gravitate to it. I've always found that. Like, I've always found that the good people like naturally gravitate towards each other. Yeah. Like, that's been my experience. Obviously, you can only speak from your own experience, but I do think that's true. Like, if you're shying away from social situations and stuff, then you're never going to meet the right people and stuff like that. But again, put yourself in situations where you feel comfortable. So if you're not a night out person, don't go on nights out. If you love, I don't know, life drawing, go to life drawing classes, and that's how you meet the right people. So that's what I would firstly say. Make sure you surround yourself with the right people where you feel like you can feel comfortable and be yourself. But if you really don't know who you are, then you have to find out, don't you? And you have to go into all of these different, like I said, say you went to a line drawing class. I feel like doing stuff like that is how you find out what you enjoy doing. Yeah. And then you start to like come out your shell with stuff more. And like, I know we've already said this, but I just think never compare yourself to other people in terms of, well, you shouldn't do it anyway, but especially in terms of like your journey and where you are in life, because what I'm doing, what you're doing, two different things. Yeah. Even if you both like work in the same sector or like whatever, you're on two completely different paths. Yeah. Like, it's literally a waste of time to compare yourself to people. Yeah. And like I said, it comes across as like unauthentic. You start to pick up other people's opinions and other people's habits, and you're not being yourself.
I also think it gives out such the wrong vibe and the wrong message, and we'll talk about like being magnetic and all that stuff in a minute, but I genuinely believe that if you are putting out low vibe, like a comparison, it's what you attract back.
100%. But like, you can apply that to everyday life. If you wake up and you're just fuming and you're just on one all day, then that's how the rest of your day is going to go. 100%. Do whatever feels natural to you, and always trust your gut with things as well. That would be another thing that I would say. Like, if you have a niggle of something and you got 9 times out of 10, it's just like follow it and trust yourself, trust the process, and like I said, believe in yourself that you're gonna get to where you want to be and the people that you need in your life, and things just start to flow.
I do think when you trust in yourself, but also trust that things are just gonna go where they're supposed to go, but also believe in yourself. That's when you nail that. That's a game changer, because then you stop stressing.
So like, when you ask that specific question, like that's something like figuring out what you want and who you want to be and blah blah can be a process, and that is something that is a very personal journey to you. People can give you advice, but only you can do that. But I think like, if you to get to a certain goal or like position in your life, you have to be clear on what you want. You need to like know what you want that to be, and then start making a plan, have action steps to work towards it, and then you need to be like determined that you're going to get it. You know what I mean? Like, there's ways in life to like do things, and if you don't have like a bit of hope and belief in yourself, then you're never going to get there. If you're telling yourself that you can't do something, well, that's chance. Like, you're not going to do it. You're never going to get there.
Yeah, let's talk about that, and manifesting and your version of it, which is also, I kind of pair it with being magnetic and then calling kind of things that you want. You obviously, you've said it in this podcast, always been chatting that you believe in manifestation and being magnetic. What's your take on it, like, or how do you manifest? Because I think people find this really interesting, and I also think people, like you said, a lot of people think manifesting is believing and then thinking something and then hoping the next day that it just comes.
So I don't even use the word.
Yeah.
I used to use it a lot. But I don't even use the word manifest anymore. I don't because I can't. When I think of manifest, I think about like The Secret Book, and it's kind of a bit like
it's a bit of a taboo word, isn't it?
Yeah, it was just like a bit of fluff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think of it as a like scientific process. And like I said there, so this, if I really want something, this would be the process that I do. So, like I said, I've pretty much just already said it. But I get clear on what I want, whether that's like writing down or sometimes just know in your head what you want. You know what I mean?
And that's another thing. I do think, and I've done this so many times, I overcomplicate everything. I think I've got to sit and write everything down, like every fucking detail, and sometimes it is just a thought in your head of a vision of where you want to be.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Like, it doesn't have to. You just need to know, like within reason, like what the goal is and where you're going to go. Because if you're just trying to do things without an actual idea, you're just wasting your time. Really, like you're just doing loads of random things, aren't you? Without like a header point. But like sometimes you might need to write it down because there's a lot of different things, but it might just be something really simple that you know that you want. But like, get clear on what I want, and then I'll put a plan in place. Again, might write it down, might just be like, right, this is what I'm going to do. You don't need to know how you're going to do something. You just need to know that you are going to get there, and then things just like come up. Like, you might end up having a conversation with somebody like by chance that leads you to the next thing, and things just like flow. But then start taking action on that plan, even if you feel like, what am I doing here? Just do something to like get the ball rolling with it, and then back it with like hope. So I've got hope, faith, and desire tattooed on me, and I always like sometimes just like randomly say them, like, oh yeah, because it's like that is how I've got to where I want to be. Like, I'm fucking dying to get there for a lot of it. Like, I'm going to use work as an example of it, because like I said, I always wanted to be a fashion designer, and I was like, that is what I'm going to do. Whether it kills me. And I couldn't get a job when I went through interview and everything. I went through hundreds of interviews, I'm not even joking, and it was just like knockback after knockback after knockback. But I also knew that I wanted to be self-employed. So, it took me a long time to get here, but like, I've done it, do you know what I mean? And obviously there's still a process to go with it, but that's the fun of it. If you just like hit your end goal straight away, then you'll be bored, isn't it? Like, the fun part of it is the building of things and like the journey of it.
And also, it's been a ride, hasn't it? To go from, I think when I first met you, you'd just gone freelance. A few months before, and then to where you are now. I think people see you as a freelance fashion designer and think, oh, she's got it easy because she does it. Do you know what I mean? It's been a fucking journey. It's been
It's been really.
I've seen you grow.
Yeah. I mean, I used to. I've obviously now, because I'm a bit more established and like just more set up. I don't have to work to this extent, but I used to be the first person in the co-working space at 6:30 in the morning, so I do some co-working space in my building, and I would be the last one to leave at like 7 o'clock. And I remember the caretaker always used to say to me, "Why are you always the first person up? You're in before me and the last person to leave." And I'd just be like constantly grinding because I just knew that's what I wanted. I'd reach burnout like all the time, but again, I know when I'm approaching burnout now and how to like handle it, which is burnout's like a whole other topic. But it's just like having that process in place for yourself, and once you recognise that it works, you can then apply it to everything in your life. Do you know what I mean? So like, getting clear on what you want, making a plan. Like I said, you don't have to know you're going to do everything. Things just kind of work out. You just need to know that you're going to get there. Start taking the action steps towards it, and then like have that desire. Because if you've just put a half-assed plan in place, you don't really want it that much. Do you know what I mean? You need to really know what you want, and then just like have hope. Hope is honestly like been a massive thing in my life over the past particularly like year and a half, and I feel like you could almost link it to like religion. Obviously, I'm not really like I was brought up Catholic, but God, I can't remember the last time I went to church or whatever. But once I started like implementing hope in my life, I felt like I was constantly still do, like I'm saying was, but I feel like I'm constantly being guided with stuff, and I feel like my life just flows better.
Yeah.
And like, I do kind of see it as a bit of a religious thing. Maybe not, I don't know, religious, spiritual, whatever you want to use.
It's almost the process of religion, isn't it? Like believing in a higher power, or in your case, like believing in hope. Like,
yeah. Well, that's what I mean. Like, I do think there's, I don't know what it is, but I do think there's something out there. Yeah, I do think there's something out there that's bigger than us. That is, I think you have to have something to believe in.
I agree.
Do you know what I mean? Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Like, you need to know that there's something bigger than yourself. That personally, that's like my own.
My take on this is a lot of my friends are religious, and I am not religious, but there's parts that I believe in, and I'm really curious about it. Like, I ask a lot. I find it fascinating. And now that I'm in this space, even with like the universe and stuff, I used to think it was all a bit woo and whatever. But now I'm like, oh my God, I wish I'd have had this sooner, because I don't feel alone. Do you know what I mean? I don't feel alone.
That is exactly how I feel. I just feel, I always feel really supported and guided. And one thing, I can't believe I've not mentioned this yet, but I feel like since I've been doing this, and because I've been doing it probably for the last 6 months, I've really noticed life just feel good. And it's gratitude. So whether that be, if I have time, I will sit and write at some point of the day. Like when we were travelling, I'd write a list of 10 things every day without fail, because obviously we were travelling on a bit more time and everything. But now that I'm back to reality, I might not particularly sit and write out 10 things every day, but I'm very aware in the moment of being like grateful for stupid things. Like if I got a bit of discount at a shop, I'm like, it's fucking great. So, do you know what I mean? It sounds a bit over the top, but it's just a nice way to live. Like every night when we get in bed, Mark's like fucking knackered because he's been up since 6:30 grafting, and there is a bricklayer. Yeah. And I'm like, give me 3 things. And every day is like, but I just think it's a nice way to live, and I think if you can't appreciate the things that you've got in your life right now, just the little things, then how can you appreciate the big things? Do you know what I mean?
It just helps, I think, because I do gratitude quite a lot, and like my career and stuff, I'm just like, I am forever grateful for this. I'm obsessed with it. But also like friendships and stuff, and just the way things are turning out. But I've come from like an upbringing or like background of everything's against you, and I was like, oh, this is shit, this is shit, why is this happening? And I think, well, it's what you give out, you receive. Like, you can't, like, going through life thinking and feeling that is just draining.
Yes, it is draining, like, really is. But I think I try and sometimes, like, you know, if I'm struggling to think of anything, because I've said it yesterday or whatever, so like, sometimes I'll even like focus on one area and say, for example, it's your body. And I don't just mean like the physical appearance, I mean like the function of it. So like, I'm so grateful that, I don't know, like I can walk. Some people can't walk. I'm so grateful that like I still have my periods. Some people don't have the periods. Like that kind of, I think it's just important. Like one day you might wake up and you might not be able to walk. It's just, just a nice way to live. I was listening to Stephen Bartlett's podcast with Jimmy Carr.
And good, isn't it?
His new one. And he opened it and he mentioned it, and he said he'll be stood in the shower and think, it's so nice to have warm water. Like some people never used to have warm water, and some people still don't today. And it's just like appreciating like what you have, because it's so easy to just focus on shit things that have happened, or like one shit thing that might have happened in your day, and it's just like, why focus? Why give it the energy?
I agree with that. I think you can focus on it, and you don't realise how quickly it drags your whole vibe down.
Yeah, definitely.
What is the biggest takeaways from the past 2 to 3 years that you look back and you just think, amazing, or I'm grateful for that, or isn't it mad that I used to do that?
As in like good things that...
Do you know, like if you look back and you're like, in like hindsight, or like... Because I look at you and I literally think the past 2 years have been so transformative. Do you feel the same?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
But what are when you look back at those 2 years, what are the things like I guess like the pinnacle moments?
So I'm trying to think where I was 2 years ago. So 2 years ago, I'd just moved into Anconco with Kyle. I'd already lived with Kyle for like 2-3 years, but we just moved into a new flat. And I remember being buzzing that I got myself to a point where I could afford that flat.
Yeah,
because seriously, before like up to being like 27, I was just skint, always skint, and I mean like skint. I remember living off credit cards, and I worked in a cafe alongside my design work, and I think I was bringing home like 1,100 a month, and my outgoings would be like 750 quid, and I was like making bags on the side to get my money up. So I remember thinking that, and I remember being like, oh my god, this is so nice. It's got a gym, and it's got co-working space, and I was just buzzing that I'd even like got this money in my life, or like worked to the point where I'd earned this money. The fact that I was self-employed and I left the cafe after years, don't get me wrong, I loved working in hospitality. I met some amazing friends there and I'd like loads of laughs. But I just always wanted to get out of it because it wasn't what I wanted to do. So the fact that I managed to leave the cafe was a massive one. Just getting my business to the point that it's at now seemed like a pipe dream. Do you know what I mean? I remember being, it's like if somebody had said to me 3 years ago that'd be where I am now with it, I'd have probably had a heart attack. And I mean, like all the Christmases come at once. And then obviously meeting Mark. Yeah. Mark's like literally like the best person ever. He is. Sometimes I'm like, fucking hell, how did I land this one? And then I thought, well, because I'm also a legend. But that's how I landed it. No, but it's just like, yeah, he's a babe. Meeting Mark is definitely probably the highlight of the last 2 years. Oh,
you guys.
Well, I met him a year and like 9 months ago.
It's gone so quick, hasn't it?
Yeah, but I also can't believe that's the only amount of time we've been together. I feel like we've been together for years.
Yeah, because a lot's happened, hasn't it?
But yeah, they're probably my highlight moments. Obviously we went travelling. I was working and travelling. The fact that I managed to get my business to a point where I could do that. Yeah. So we went to Asia for like 4.5 months. I could go on and on. Got quite a few. But they're probably the main key things.
So usually at the end of every episode we do like sharing guest tips on how to encourage people to be themselves. I guess you've already answered that, but is there anything else you would add that we've not covered or you want to speak about?
No, I think the main thing that I would just say is, like we've already said, is about staying in your own lane and knowing that you're on your own journey. And like I said before, it's not really about the end goal. I think it's about the process that comes with it. I think that's because have you ever hit a goal and been so underwhelmed by it? Yeah. And then you look back and you're like, well, I actually enjoyed the full process of it more than it's like the fact that you've got there. I think and that you've put them steps in place to get there.
I just feel like people I always go off on a tangent right then, but I feel like people feel so much pressure to be this big thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
big. Yeah. Like everything's got to be big, and everything's got to be a statement, and everything's got to be loud. Mm-hmm. And actually, it's so much nicer when you're not waiting for that justification from other people, because all of that pressure goes.
Yeah. I honestly think. Again,
did you ever feel like that, actually, pressure that you've got to do something big? Or
yeah, but again, it came from me. Honestly, I'm like my worst. Like, I've never really been like I don't care what people think. It's always been like what I thought. But then maybe that, in some level, that does feed out to what people think. But it's more like it's always felt like my own pressure that I put on myself. So one other thing that I would say, which we haven't spoken about, is if there's anything that you deep down know is holding you back, put it out of your life. And
I was going to mention something.
I can say that with drinking and partying, and like I know that I spoke about having a bit of like an identity crisis. Yeah. Which honestly took me a while. Like when that's how you've lived your life and kind of like how you've even viewed yourself for like the best part of 10 years, it was like really weird. So I was like, why aren't I enjoying being in this situation? But drinking particularly started to give me wild anxiety, like really, really bad, and it was holding back from it was affecting me, my gym training and just general anxiety. Like I'd feel like the world was ending for like 3 days. Yeah. And it just started to get worse and worse. And I got to the point where I was like, I don't need to just cut this out because it's literally making me feel like shit and it's holding me back. And I haven't drank since New Year's Eve. And before that, I'd cut down loads. Like, sometimes I'd go out and drink.
We actually had a conversation about this. Do you remember? I don't know if we were together or we were on the phone or whatever. But I basically said to you, I don't know how to fit in this city because I don't drink like everyone else does. And I genuinely, you said like you'd avoid going out in social situations when you were talking about, when we were having a conversation about your eating disorder. But I felt the same with drinking, and I don't have like a problem with drinking or anything. But I felt like people around me or my friends were partying and I didn't want to party, so I didn't know how to socialise. And then I thought, how am I ever going to make friends because I don't drink to the extent that everyone else does? And we've had a conversation about this actually, about how do you fit in, but also you just do different things at different times.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's also good to have different groups of mates who have different things. Like, because when you first met me, I was still still in my party girl phase.
I think you were just coming out of it, or you were just starting to get a bit curious about pulling away a little bit.
Yeah, I think I probably was, but I used to like ruin my life every week. Yeah. Honestly, I'm not like, it was fun. Lots of fun.
Yeah.
Whereas I did like ruin my life with it quite a lot. But also I knew that it was something that was holding me back, but it's just been the way I'd lived for so long that I didn't really know how to change it.
Yeah.
And then before I met Mark, I was going in and out of this phase of like not drinking. And then I met Mark and we were just on one for ages because he loves to drink as well. And then I was like, I need to just like chill out again, and then we kind of like chilled out together because Mark also was the same as me, just loved to party, loved to get wrecked, and I think it helped when he was chilling out as well. But it just gave me serious anxiety.
Yeah,
and I knew that it was like stopping me from where I wanted to get with work and the gym and blah blah blah. So like, to summarise that, if there is something, or it might even be someone, it might be a group of people, or like something that you know is holding you back, or like day to day, if something is affecting you negatively regularly, it's holding you back, cut it out.
Yeah.
Or try and make some kind of adjustments in your life where you're, I don't know, like say as a person, you see them less. Sometimes you can't always cut people out.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've cut people out as well.
Yeah, to be fair, I've got quite good at cutting people out, and I've spoke about it quite a lot on here, because sometimes it might not even be like a friend, it might be like a behaviour that people do that you're just like, this fucks me off, quite frankly. Like,
it could be,
doesn't work for me, or it takes away, takes away from what I'm trying to do.
But in the, like, you know, when you mentioned cycles before, like you end up in a cycle of doing things, another one that I bet people are in all the time, it would be what I would do like years ago. It's like, you know, like when you get in a shit relationship, or you're in a situationship, or just like, you have this cycle of, you meet someone, they turn out to be a dickhead, or like something happens and you view it as them being a dickhead, blah blah blah, and then you feel shit about it, then you get back on, and then you end up in that same cycle, and you go for the same kind of people, and it's like that exact loop, which I'm sure a lot of people can relate to. You can relate that to everything else. Like, it's like people who want to diet, you might start it, and your first 2 weeks goes great, and then all of a sudden you've had a binge, and then you fucking feel like shit again, and then you're like, right, I need to get back to it, and it's just like, I've lived in that cycle for literally years. But again, I think that can be linked to a bit of like control thing. Yeah.
Well, it's like, I sent Lauren a picture ages ago, and I can't even remember the words we were looking at before we started recording, but it was basically like self-sabotage, take action, overthink, take action, be happy, overthink, self-sabotage, and it was this loop, and it honestly constantly, that was my 20s, that whole cycle was my 20s. And I rang Lauren, or I voice noted Lauren about it, and I was like, this is what I'm feeling like, sent her a picture, how the fuck do I get out of it? And you were literally like, just get out of your own fucking head. Lauren's great because she's very to the point, there's no like, oh mate, I hope you're okay. She was just like get
stop being a dickhead.
Get out of your own head and let all the shit go, like stop overthinking. And then that's when you told me to go to Courtney, and then but it's you don't realise how much you live in your head, do you?
Oh no. And as well, like, I listened to another book which was called The Worry-Free Mind.
Okay.
And they had a great like task to do if you're really homing in on something and getting in your own head. And it was like imagining you're in a hot air balloon, but at the minute like you're on the floor, and you've just got this like one perception, and then all of a sudden you just go up and up and up and up, and you're still looking at that spot that you set off from, but then you look around and you realise that there's a whole new perspective. Like
Yeah.
it's life is literally about perspective.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like what perspective are you going to take? You're going to take the shit one, or you're going to take the good one, you're going to take the positive one. It is literally about however you view it can be changed like that.
Yeah.
And it is so true.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of it's the power of your mind, isn't it?
Yeah, the power is within you.
Oh, thank you so much for recording this.
Oh,
it's been so good.
Thanks for having me on.
You are welcome. But yeah, so refreshing and so much. I think the main takeaway for me from this episode is just honestly to let go, stay in your lane and be you. Like no.
Exactly, stay in your lane. Because why the fuck would you want to be in somebody else's anyway?
Yeah.
And you live in somebody else's life.
Yeah.
Do your own thing.
Do your own thing.
Do your own thing.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Bye.